It's been a bit of a runaway this season, and it's been all about consistency. Consistently finding your mark, consistently putting the best points together. Jack David Spickett has been, simply put, sensational in that regard. But this is a track which likes to bring great drivers out of the woodwork. It's a true driving feel here today. Salut Gilles, we're here at the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve, welcome one and all to the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series out here on the Global SimRacing Channel. My name is Jake Sperry. Alongside me for the ride on today's action is Joey Atterbury. Christian Deploy is in the director's chair. He's using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But to this Montreal track on the banks of the St. Lawrence River, this has been a circuit long after time after time after time, which has been long the greatest circuit out there, some would say, in the northern hemisphere of the United States and Canada and that North American tracks. Let's get a look at what's going to go on around this circuit. Here's your little bit of an understanding. Our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Host of the Canadian Grand Prix for over 40 years, this track's popularity among fans refuses to wane. Although it has gone through a few alterations in its history, the nature of its layout has remained pretty much the same. That nature, of course, is that its 14 turns are mostly chicanes, split up by long straights to add up to a 2.7-mile street course-like canyon of a track. These 4.3 kilometers are mainly made up of actual streets on the man-made Ile Notre Dame, though portions are specifically built for the racetrack. But whether or not fans consider it a true street course, the close barriers that line the majority of the track don't care what you think. Places like the exit of Turn 4 and Turn 9 frequently collect the greedy. But these pale in infamy to the notorious Wall of Champions. Named for its penchant to collect F1 World Champions, the corner itself is called Quebec. Regardless, it's a finicky and tight chicane with a critical corner exit, so drivers are tempted into edging the car as close as they dare to the concrete. Despite the numerous heavy braking zones, passing can be difficult at times for certain types of cars. Often, attrition or cut course penalties play a bigger part in who finishes where. While sports cars and NASCAR have both made stops here, this place is mainly known for its history with Formula One. Named after what is easily Canada's most popular driver in the International Open Wheel Series, this semi-temporary circuit looks like it's actually here to stay for a long, long time.
There's a reason why this circuit brings in all the fans when Formula One season comes to town, but a track which by design is very basic when you look at it. It's just 4 chicanes, some would say, and some long straights to go along with it. But in simplicity, you have genius, and that's something we've seen time and time again, Joey, with track design.
It is a very start and stop style track here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. 14 turns, 2.71 miles or 4.36 kilometers, and it is all about the mechanical grip around this place, because throw downforce out the window. Look at the track map. There's no sweeping corners out here. You heard him say it is 4 chicanes plus a hairpin all the way down there at turn 10, so trim out the wings, make sure you got a ton of top-end speed, but also make sure you have the brake balance set right, because if you jump on the brakes going all that super fast mile an hour, well, guess what? The car needs to be stable. You got to be good putting the power down as well through here.
Yes, it's very much a case of acceleration will be rather important to get the results that are needed here today. Let's talk championship, because right now it's over a 1-race margin for JDS, Jack David Spickett. He stands 121 points clear of Juho Reiner, with John Olsen, the nearest challenger, here in 3rd position. You've then got Geno Fritzsche, the living legend, in 4th, with Timothy van den Berg 5th, and Danilo Sanfilippo in 6th. Dylan Freckleton is just 7 points back of that in 7th place, with Pepe Fuentes' charge moving him up into 8th, with Jean-Francois Boscus in 9th, and Mikko Leno making the top 10 in F1. That's for those with over 3,000 iRating. For those a little bit further back, it's still a very dominant display.
And like you said, same exact cars, just a different iRating. Bjorn Ackerman currently leading the charge by a healthy margin, nearly 80 points over Rolly Wallbank, and he himself has a good gap over Kirk Clapper there in third place. Then it starts to tighten up just a touch, about 11 points back to fourth place, Miguel Moreland. Ben Summers also right there in fifth. Keith Herner, Yanni Lehman, Adam Klaska, Manning Granon, and Byron Long all inside the top 10 in that standings.
Yeah, they've all making their progress known out there at the moment. The teams, as it looks, is in the hands of Jack David Spickett right now, 626, plays 543, the team of Rolly Wallbank and John Olsen, the Sanremo Racing team, with Lotus in third with Juho Reiner, a non-score last time out. Alfa Romeo and Ligier are fourth and fifth, with Ferrari and Williams sixth and seventh. The TVR Racing team are in eighth with a stellar ninth, and it is ATS who currently round out the top 10 overall as the standings go. But this is going to be a race which pretty much sets up the end game of this championship. Joey, what do they have to deal with today?
Round 9 of 12, so on the back half of the season, 23 laps around this high-end circuit. Open setup as always. You heard me talking about the wing angles. We're going to see who's got the top-end speed versus who's got the grip in the slower parts. Drive-through penalty at 17x, a disqualification at 25 incident points, so don't go bumping and banging into anybody out there. You got no spare car. If you pick up any damage, well, guess what? You got to live with it out there or make that slow trip down pit lane, get that fixed up, but we all know that gives away all of your track position.
And track position, with the amount of drivers we've got here today, we are on the cutoff of 38 drivers. It is a maximum grid here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve today, which means it is going to be busy here on the Montreal street. We've got drivers currently through on qualifying as things currently stand. So when you sit down and look at just how aggressive these drivers need to be, you are getting a complete picture of what everyone's hoping for. This is Dylan Freckleton right now in the final minutes of qualifying, Joey, down in 25th position now, all of a sudden, and that's going to mean he's got a lot of work to do to move up the 13th row overall.
Absolutely, but I will say the one thing about these 79s is generally the second lap in qualifying is much, much faster than the first lap. It's got about 25 seconds to get down this straightaway, avoid the wall of champions, and hopefully crush start finish. He is tracking about 1.5 seconds, much, much better than his previous lap time of a 30.3. Let's see what he can do this time.
Making that run, the short run, over towards the line, crossing with a 28.4. That's good enough for 10th place in qualifying. Big smile there. Checkered flag will come out on the session. We'll head over to the starting grid. There's a lot to run through, so we'll go through it as quickly as we can here. It is Pauli Partanen. Nice to see him back. He's on the pole by 2/10 over Pepe Fuentes, with Togo Hesada starting third and Juho Reiner in fourth position. Gernot Fritsch has Sergio Fernandez for company in sixth position, with the championship leader Jack David Spickett seventh, along with Kevin Parrish. John Olsen starts ninth, with Dylan Freckleton in 10th.
In 11th, we have Jean-Francois Boscus with Miguel Moreland starting in 12th, Jose Conda in 13th, AJ Roper 14th, Barry West, the Big Cat, in 15th, Rolly Wallbank next to him in 16th, Daniel Gilles 17th, Yanni Lehman 18th, Wolfram Fund in 19th, and Thomas Silbernagel starting 20th.
Over with Blackjack is Adam Klatschka here with the Casino Straight. Bjorn Ackerman, the F2 Championship leader, alongside. It's then Martin Reisman and Robert Simpkins with Daniel Repetto and Byron Long on row 13. Jason Krakowiak is 27th, along with Josh Hampton in 28th, leading to Manning Grinnan and Ben Summers on row 15.
31st is Mauro Micheletti. Leon Frost going to be lined up next to him in 32nd. Juan Jimenez in 33rd. Alejandro Diaz starting from 34th. Kirk Clapper back here in 35th. Vincent Lonin in 36th. Don Runkle Jr. 37th. And then the 38th car, Jose Carlos Competent. I can't even say it, Jake. Please take over.
Well, Jose Carlos Campodonico is going to be one driver who I don't think is going to take to the start here today, and neither do I believe Vincent Lochner is going to either. They're both out of server at the moment, so those will be two drivers that I don't think are going to get anything going right now for them. But a number of drivers here that you haven't seen this season, Pauli Partanen, Togo Hesada, Sergio Fernandez in there, drivers who will take points away from those up at the top of the field in the championship. It does mean that Jack David Spickett has to work carefully. We've got very cold conditions out there, just 26 degrees Celsius, 79 Fahrenheit, and that's worth keeping in mind. Lights on here at the circuit, Gilles Villeneuve, and lights out, and Hesada goes nowhere off the start. They get themselves underway. Partanen struggles as well. Contact then between Juho Reiner, I think it was, and also one more driver who was there. That was going to be not Pauli Partanen, but Geno Preacher. They managed to scramble through, but at the front, a start by Pepe Fuentes. He was hoping for and then some.
And then I think it's AJ Roper that got on the gas too hard, spun himself around at the exit of turn 2, and now through the first chicane, we've got a big pileup. I believe Togo Hesada's involved.
Oh, it's still going as well. Yanni Lehmann caught out in it, the likes of which as well. Martin Reisman missing tyres out there. Thomas Silbernagel had to try and find a way through all the drama and damage, and it all started with AJ Roper, as you said, trying to get on the power, trying to get through. It was Jose Conda actually with the contact. That's what threw everybody there together, and the troubles that came forward. Hesada's issues happened later on down through the corner in his own separate incident, but down at the hairpin, Pepe Fuentes, your leader, Pauli Partanen needing to get warmed up at the moment. Preacher third, Jack David Spickett, great start by him, he's up to fourth.
Couple of good starts. I noticed Dylan Freckleton also took advantage on that standing start, got a good launch, but Pauli Partanen now to the outside as Fuentes defends going into the final chicane. They both stay nice and clean off of that final wall, that wall of champions. On the first lap, you just need to keep it on the good stuff.
You absolutely do. Behind that, Sergio Fernandez has Dylan Freckleton for a little bit of company heading to the centre chicane. The opening out there. There's Pauli Partanen able to hold his line quite perfectly. We go on board as he now looks to try and charge and get his pass on Pepe Fuentes. So aggressive on the brakes. You can see on the rear wing, prepare for the horrors. And right now the horrors, well, they were all behind this group right now. I think I can count a dozen cars who are in the pits or with damage.
I think that the biggest speed difference up front here is if you look at Partanen and how confident he is on the brakes, and actually it's Jack David Spickett, that fourth car in line. He's going to line up Gernot Frische, but think twice about it. Wasn't close enough to make that lunge into what is kind of the second chicane out here. Now trying to line up the exit, heading down into the turn 10 hairpin. If he can get close enough, present the car to the inside. There's a really late lunge. Can he get it stopped? Yes, Gernot's going to hang on to the outside. If you can put the power down, it's going to be a drag race.
Well, you can get that run through Lepangle, turn 10, get that chance then to go through 11, and then you've got the entire straight, the casino straight, to try and defend, and that's what we're seeing. Look out for the race lead though. Pauli going towards the outside, trying to get it sorted, and he makes Pepe Fuentes look like he's standing still with a wonderful pass to get through on the Spaniard. You've got Gernot Frische holding on to that third place, but Pauli Partanen was not going to stay away from P1 for long.
We are seeing four very different setup cars here at the front. Pauli Partanen, wicked fast out there. I don't think you're going to catch the number 2 now that he's out there in clean air. Pepe Fuentes, a little bit more of a medium downforce setup. That means it's costing him that top-end speed. That's why Partanen was able to go by. Jack David Spickett, you see the yellow car? He's also on more of a medium downforce. He's so aggressive through these chicanes. He's got all the grip in the world. But when it comes down to the straightaway here, watch. Gernot Frische can easily defend.
Well, he can at the moment. Togo Hesada with the fastest lap. There goes JDS, though. You don't often make them here in the third chicane. Almost contact between them as they have wheel-to-wheel contact. This brings then Juho Reiner onto the scene, who needs to make these passes to claw back points. He's second in the championship. JDS throws another one down the inside, has a little lock up the rear axle. But just like this, Gilles again will apply the power and say, I will keep my place.
JDS surprised me there in that chicane, made a really late lunge, and I don't blame him one bit. If he wants to try to pass this car, he's got to stay as close as possible. He doesn't have the top end speed, but he does have the performance in the brake zone. So if he can tuck himself up literally underneath the wing of that white and blue car here into turn one, this might be his best shot.
Well, we've got some drivers who are in trouble. Rory Warbank is going to be 2 laps down. He's back out there. Martin Reisman, Juan Jimenez, and Wolfram Fun are the 4 drivers out of this race. Everyone else has been able to get it back to the pits to serve some damage or are walking wounded here in this race. You've got to keep an eye on a couple drivers who have lost a lot of time here today. Togo Hesada and John Olsen are those 2 as JDS looks for the run on the outside of turn 7, hoping that he can make that pass. He's desperate for a way through, but Gilles Fritzsche has been there, done that, and written the book.
So much fun to watch the performance gap difference. So JDS, this yellow car, is going to be so fast through the chicane. Gernot Fritzsche, you see the tail just wagging and can't put the power down. All of a sudden, he's right here. Now he's forced to go driver's left. This is the long way around here at this hairpin turn. It's not going to happen. He's got to focus on putting the power down. He can't pass him in a straight line, but be as close as you possibly can. That's what JDS needs to do.
I tell you what he wants bodies, does Gilles Fritzsche. He's trying to stay with Pepe Fuentes, which is good. He's managing that. They're about a second a lap slower than Pauli Parton at the front of this field. But what they can do then is bring more bodies into the battle to make life more difficult. What a run by JDS through the 5 chicane. Look at this, they're going to fan out here. And Gilles Fritzsche's going to get the run here on Fuentes, who struggled off at the final corner, almost putting it in the wall of champion. Front to rear contact, straight on goes Gilles. He makes contact with Fuentes, and Fuentes trying to go forward, catches Juho Reiner, and as well, Sergio Fernandez.
Oh no, talk about 2nd through 5th place right there, all involved in it. I think that JDS was probably the one that got through the cleanest. Gernot Fritzsche missing an entire front left, and I'm going to armchair quarterback this one, Jake. It almost looked like Gernot might have squeezed him a little bit much going down there into turn 1, which you don't usually see out of him.
Well, Jack David Spickett had to try and find the angle. He needed to make that move through on the inside. And the issue that you've got is you've got such a tiny front wheel against a massive rear wheel. If you make any sort of contact like that, the car is going to be spooning its way up forward. And Jack David Spickett, I think, just about got away with it, but I'm not entirely convinced that Jack David Spickett at that stage... Oh, and that's Yanni Lehman, his teammate, who's in the wall missing a rear left tyre.
That was a very big impact down there. I think that was actually the 2nd chicane, so not sure exactly what happened. Now, this is a familiar driver, although it's usually in the 49s. Remember, Togo Hesada started up towards the front of the field in 3rd place, but then in that turn 3-4 complex got spun around, was involved in the incident with John Olsen. But when I went back and looked at this one, Jake, I think that Togo Hesada actually got away with minimal damage. So he's going to be marching his way up through, and he's still got another 15 laps or so.
Speaking of drivers marching up through, Leon Forsch. What a drive he is having. He is plus 19 in 6 laps.
That's extremely impressive. That is just putting the visor down and getting to work. And right there in front of him, I believe, is Joshua Hampton. So a little bit of a gap in front of that green car. We'll see if Leon truly has that pace once he gets around. See if he can catch the next group.
Well, it's Josh Hampton, of course, the car he's got to get through, who he himself started 28th and is up 16 places here in this race. These drivers have just avoided the landmines, and they're going to get a pretty boon out of this one. Ben Summers as well behind, started in 30th position. They've got Gilles, Morland and Conda as their 3 in front. Hampton pushing a little bit there through the 3rd chicane. Now look at the drive off the exit. Leon Forsch is really hoping to make his way through and make that charge. The Club Diaz driver on the brakes, round the outside of the hairpin, trying to get that drive, but just can't find it. Well, actually managed it in the final phase of acceleration. Brilliant stuff, and look at the wiggle. They'll drag race all the way to the Wall of Champions chicane.
It's kind of like what we saw to Gernot Prix on the outside line of turn number 10. Once you get the power down, you kind of get that slingshot, but now he finds himself in a braking duel on the wrong side. You see Josh Hampton secure that position, but oh, there's a tremendous run out of the final corner. So move force to the inside. Driver's left. He's going to have the preferred line going into turn number 1. Not quite as deep on the brakes, and now he secures the apex, move him up into 12th.
Brilliant stuff by Leon Forst. He made that look brilliant in terms of that move. The number 15 car in this race, slicing and dicing his way through like a very good chef. Big slide there. There's Jean-Francois Boscas in 7th position on the back of Pepe Fuentes, who you will feel will be walking wounded. And you can see how wounded he is. He's got absolutely no front right out there on the Wednesday Adams car.
Not only that, this is the front left wing, but the front right you see is completely gone there. The other thing he's missing, Jake, you see a right side pod. Well, guess what? It's on the left side. Absolutely nothing. I think you got one of the radiators over there on the left side. So you got no front right wing, no left side pod. This thing's got to be a handful.
Well, back in the day, you'd have the fuel tanks posed there, and so that car would have been aflame pretty much, and out of the race. Oh, he tags the Wall of Champions. One day he'll be a champion. He gets away with one.
And that's the area that Pepe Fuentes had the problem that started it all in turn number 1. Jumping over the curb there in that final chicane. It got them all out of shape, and it seems like that's probably the problem area that Pepe is going to circle after this one.
Yeah, more work at the Wall of Champions to do, and he was caught up, of course, in that massive incident with Geno Freacher and Jack David Spickett. But I go back and talk about that moment, Joey, because Jack David Spickett never truly got his car alongside to make that move. You often say you've got to get at least halfway along before you can determine the corner, and Geno Freacher is officially out of the race, along with his main championship rival, Juho Reiner. I think that's all on Jack David Spickett.
I think that we could sit here and armchair quarterback it all we want. It's tough when you're in JDS's point of view because you've got a high downforce car. Yeah, we're watching Pepe Fuentes. He's just going to be kind of bleeding these positions as Jean-Francois Boscas gets around him there in the turn 10 hairpin. So Jean-Francois up into 6th. But what I was going to say is JDS, we knew he had a higher downforce. We've seen him make those crazy lunges. So Gernot knew he was there. He knew the move was coming. He decided to kind of squeeze him over there anyways. If you ask me, that's a racing incident because Freacia knew exactly the performance window that JDS already had.
Well, that's why it is such a difficult job to be a steward and why these races are on iRacing Official instead. Miguel Morlan and Daniel Gilles fighting for the top 10, and Gilles right now is looking for a way to soar up another position and can't quite manufacture the pass on Miguel Morland. Up 2 for Miguel, up 6 for Daniel Gilles in this one. And through all of this, who's been super quiet, I want to point out, your F2 Championship leader, Bjorn Ackermann, has gone from 22nd to 8th.
Bjorn's having a fantastic run up there, plus 14 positions, one of our biggest movers for sure. The other one that I've got my eye on a handful of laps ago was that number 3 car is actually, we watched Bjorn. He's currently chasing Pepe Fuentes, and I think he's going to get by here in the next handful of laps, because remember, we documented all the damage that's going on Fuentes' car, so this is Bjorn in the green multicolored car, slowly reeling in that number 6 in front, and I can officially say it's about 1.2 to 1.5 seconds that he's able to close the gap over Pepe in front of him.
Well, the issue that you got is that Bjorn Ackermann's actually missing the front right wing exactly the same right now as Pepe Fuentes. The only issue that he's got is that he's got a side pod where someone else doesn't. Now, Togo Hesada is having to try and go through the ringer here. He's dispatched of Adam Platschka. He's now looking at Robert Simpkins here for position. Jason Krakowiak just in front. Togo Hesada. Togo will now pogo and get another place.
And what impressed me the most was that last lap, Togo Asada was actually purple, the fastest lap out of anybody on the racetrack. So, yeah, a little bit of a shame to see him so far back in terms of track position. I think the fun part for us will be, let's see how far forward he can go now.
Oh, yeah, it was close against Jason Krakowiak there. He had to get well out of the opening chicane. That could have so easily have been, for Togo Hesada, a race-ending issue, because you've got to know that if you're a driver of Togo's talent and you're making your way through the field, braking markers are going to be so different to what you expect. You've got to temper it back, and there's the lunge down on the inside, finally getting that move done.
I think the biggest time gain between the really, really fast guys and just the fast guys is all in that entry speed, that confidence you were talking about. It comes down to a really big accordion effect, right? Imagine if you're doing 170 miles an hour right in the draft, inches behind somebody, and they jump on the brakes. All of a sudden, that closing gap, it increases like, whoa, like crazy. Thankfully, Togo Hesada, being in the 49s, knows how to deal with all that traffic.
Battle of those without front wings. Bjorn Ackermann moves down through on the inside and dispatches of Pepe Fuentes, moves himself up into 7th position and will have his eyes set on Jean-Francois Boschkus, the Frenchman, there in front in P6. What a drive by Bjorn Ackermann here today, up 15 places to get himself into 7th. He's having a wonderful run and is making a statement here that he has F1 division talent in speed.
I think the biggest thing that Bjorn needs to focus on right now is the remaining 11, 12, 13 laps, whatever it is out there that he needs to complete. So he just needs to focus on staying inside the top 10. He's already got that huge F2 points championship gap. This is a great opportunity to just even grow that more. Keep it consistent out there.
Well, the driver he's up against closest in the championship is Roly Wallbank, and Roly is 2 laps down here in this race, trying to get a finish right now, down in 30th position. Kurt Klapper down in 23rd position. Miguel Morland, probably his biggest threat here today. He's in 10th place and had a very solid day. There's Togo Hesada. He wants another one. I think he's going to go all the way to the Hamptons to try and get this move sorted, lunging down the inside at the hairpin and making that one look quite crisp. So getting it all sorted. He's dressed to the nines and he's making places.
It's so much fun to watch this driver. He is just textbook on where he can put the car. He knows exactly the performance window that basically the car is giving him, the track is giving him, and just takes advantage of all of it. Look at how much he just closed on Ben Summers. I mean, he was a couple hundred yards back, and now we're a couple hundred yards after the corner. He's already side by side, so he's going to overtake the big lunge here into turn number 1, so up into 13th. Now he's got Leon right in front of him. Probably just another few corners, maybe one brake zone. He'll be right on the tail.
Well, he's not the first of the overtakes, but he certainly won't be the last with Togo Hesada's speed as he, at the halfway stage, looks to try and claw his way back through. I tell you what, Jack David Spickett's trying to keep Pauli Partanen honest with his fastest lap of the race. It's about 5 seconds, the gap at the front, and the key between them right now is that Pauli Partanen here is going to have to keep himself alert out there. He's got such a gap that he can't afford to switch off, because the moment you switch off, you get 1988 Ayrton Senna at Monaco.
I will say that Pauli Partanen is one of the best chess masters out there. He's extremely cerebral in how he kind of presents each race and actually performs out there, as Togo Asada is probably going to make the move here on force down this straightaway. My point being, if Pauli Partanen sees, okay, we're just past halfway, if I want fastest lap in this thing, I actually need to save a little bit for the end. I wonder if Partanen is just maybe backing off that little bit, saving that tire for those last handful of laps when the car is the lightest, the best performance window to actually grab that fast lap.
Togo Hesada has been trading about the fastest lap over the course of this race, and Leon Forsch now has got to think about where he wants to defend. Oh, it's night and day, but look at Leon go! Throws it round the outside, catches Togo Hesada sleeping there in the middle of turn 1, but Togo will get a drive out of turn 2 of the centre chicane, down into 3 and 4, but again, Leon Forsch came to race, and Togo Hesada right now is really having to try and work to make this move happen. He might have the big lunge here at 6, but again, round the outside, you try. Fox runs a bit too wide though, struggling with the tyres, and through finally goes Togo Hesada.
That black and gold car of Forrest, I've been watching him very closely the last handful of laps, because remember, he was battling with Hampton before. He's starting to burn off those rear tires. That's going to be the weak point on that car. If you keep abusing the tires, they're going to continue to fall off and get worse and worse.
They certainly will, and that's what these drivers are keeping in mind. There is your race leader. It's Pauli Kalevi-Partanen, who has been, for the longest time, one of the drivers that you see step up to the plate. And this is the thing about this Lotus 79 car. It doesn't matter who you are and how quick you are. If you come from Finland, there is a good chance you're up there at the front. And you look at the list of names that at any given point can be at the front and battling. We've seen Topi Kohtaniemi this season. We've seen Mikko Leino this season. There's the likes of Jukka Tolonen in the past. There's been the likes of Kimmo Villiakainen in the past. You look around, Pauli Partanen, you can easily put himself in that list. And you could say there are 5 Finnish drivers at any given point who can win any race.
And whenever Pauli shows up, it doesn't matter who he's racing against. You know he's going to be up front. And yeah, all of the names that you just mentioned, extremely impressive. Guess what? They're not here. Pauli is the one that's carrying the flag, and he's carrying it very proudly. 5.5 seconds, nearly 6 seconds out in front. And I really do feel like he's kind of managing the race right now. I think that he's just managing his tires, waiting and biding his time for when the car gets a little bit faster to kind of unleash all of that speed.
Robert Simpkins here in what is 18th position. That's AJ Roper down the inside taking the place. A big wiggle in front though, as Adam Klatschko and Jason Krakowiak going at it for position. Then Krakowiak on home soil here in Canada. Adam Klatschko, Club Diat, looking for the run around the outside. We've seen how strong that drive off the exit on the outside has been. It has been a leapfrog, and they are not giving an inch right now. The John Players special of Adam Klatschko has to pull back into line to get the slipstream on Jason Krakowiak, heading towards this final chicane, and on the brakes, gets it done with aplomb.
And Krakowiak just isn't able to capitalize out of the wall of champions. Careful, because that orange car that's right there, that's AJ Roper, and that is also for position. Robert Simpkins, the 4th car in line, so all 4 of these cars fighting for position. Remember, AJ had that big spin off of lap 1. I think it was at the exit of turn number 2, so he's on a little bit of a redemption drive. Same thing as this driver that we've been documenting. Togo Hesada has caught his next victim, Daniel Gilles, about to be overtaken.
Well, straight to the inside, and he's not even going to challenge it. He's on the brakes early. Is Daniel Gilles not wanting to fight into this 3rd chicane? Togo Hesada, the way he's been fighting back in this race, super rashi. He has been simply superb. And Miguel Morland is next, and that would be for the top 10, which would be a huge coup for Togo Hesada, considering he was backwards at turn 4 at the start of this race.
And Jake, let me just put this into kind of perspective here. Togo Hesada's last lap, 126.8. The 3 cars in front of him, 129s. He is catching those cars at 2+ seconds per lap. He's got more cars to overtake.
He is definitely not done. He is writing down as many drivers as he can for his overtake death note to try and make the moves as possible. Klatschko holding on against AJ Roper. This one currently going out there for what is 16th and 17th here in this race as these drivers continue on their charges. Almost a minute off of the race lead right now, currently held by Pauli Partanen, which shows you just how easy it is to lose time around this circuit, because everyone's battlings really does hurt. And there you see down the inside the orange machine of AJ Roper making that happen pretty elementary.
Yeah, it looked relatively easy. I do think that AJ's got a little bit more pace than kind of where he is in track position just because of that early incident. So expect him to kind of take it off, and maybe Klatschko can kind of take some notes and learn a few things. And Togo Hesada already on the back of Miguel Moreland. It took less than half a lap to close in that 2+ second gap. He's going to overtake for a top 10 already.
Yeah, he's going to now try and look to find that move. He's 45 seconds off the race lead, and now he'll get the launch of the slipstream. He'll think about, does he go for the big throw down on the inside under the Dodge siding and making his way on the brakes. Miguel Moreland, nothing he can do about that. Easy start by Togo Hesada, and he'll have Jose Conda and as well Pepe Fuentes for company, so that'll be 8th place he'll be searching for. And this is 6th and 7th. Bjorn Ackermann has caught the back of Jean-Francois Boscus. Little slide as he goes through turn 4 there, does Bjorn Ackermann, and it's 5 seconds down the road to Kevin Parrish. We've said nothing about Kevin Parrish in this race, Joey. He's had a wonderful race.
He's kept it extremely consistent, but all I gotta say about Bjorn's performance, heck yes, he is just driving the wheels off of this thing, fighting for what is 6th place in the top split out here. He's one of these F2 drivers leading that F2 points championship, and he is showing some extreme speed out here. He got an excellent run going down here into turn number 10. He's going to get easy on the brakes. You want to focus on the exit coming out of the hairpin. That's going to provide you the top end speed, the drive out that you need to make the pass.
Well, he's got unicorn power, he says, on the front of his car, which will be very unbalanced with one missing wing plate there on the right-hand side. Still, though, in the slipstream, moving over to the left-hand side, he goes well early on the brakes, not wanting to attack. He's trying to get the drive through, and they've almost played chicken against each other here. They've both compromised their corners because neither of them really wanted to be in a position to fight for it, and because of that, it allows Bjorn Ackermann down to the inside here at turn 1, and at turn 2, here's the straight back then from Jean-Francois, but if you can get the power on the outside, you've got a great chance. Look at the torque going through the rear wheels. Bjorn Ackermann round the outside of turn 3. Oh, bravo!
Bjorn's just being a little bit more aggressive. You were right, Jake. It got a little bit awkward. It was almost like they were tripping over themselves in that final hairpin, but the thing that they were doing, leaving each other room, racing room. They didn't make any contact, and they're still going.
Here at 6 laps to go, Togo Hesada next on the list. Jose Conda, what a drive out of 8, and now, out 7, and now over towards turn 8 and 9. It's Togo Hesada on the inside. Oh, he threw it in from a mile away, and he found that absolutely brilliantly through. Sugoi, Togo, Sugoi!
It's crazy how fast Togo is in comparison to everybody in front of him. The only car that is outpacing Togo Hesada currently is our leader, Pauli Partanen. And guess what? He's got clean air. He doesn't have to deal with any of this stuff. So Togo Hesada, the next one on the list. Pepe Fuentes. After that, Jean-Francois Boscus. I think he still has time to catch Ackermann and Parrish.
Well, Parrish is 7 seconds beyond Bjorn Ackermann. That's going to be a tall order with 5 laps to go. Parrish is doing 27 sevens out there, second a lap, so 17 seconds. I don't see that being caught up this late in the race, but Hesada eyeing up the damage. Pepe Fuentes, this is just picking off Prix at this moment, especially one who is limping around this circuit for a finish. Pepe Fuentes, who was challenging up at the front, was in second position for the longest time, and now look at how much he's having to deal with. Togo Hesada, will there be any mercy on this move? No, he's going to make him sweat.
Oh, and Togo actually gets really, really loose right there through turn 6, but thankfully he's able to get back on the line, put the power down. Now he's up driver's right with Fuentes. This is going to be easy. He's just going to outbrake him going into this turn 8 complex, and then just throw up the deuces, say, see you later, Fuentes. Thank you for making that relatively easy on me. Let's see if I can go close down 5.5 seconds for 7.
5.5 seconds in 4 laps. He will want the move done on Jean-Francois Boscus. Bjorn Ackermann as well would be a huge recovery by Togo Hesada in the context of this race. Currently being led by Pauli Partanen and a long ways clear. John Olsen, not the day that he was hoping for. He had outside hopes of jumping up in the championship. He comes into today in 3rd place, but the way that it's worked out for him, both he and Jorge Nieva basically are waving the white flag here for Jack David Spickett on this championship.
A little unfortunate for this number 7 car, and when I went back and looked at it, He was actually the one that got loose there in the turn 3-4 complex on the opening lap. So John definitely in recovery mode from that. Had to fall all the way back to the tail end. Now he's made his way back up into 20th, but it's definitely going to be a race as he makes a huge lunge to the outside. That's not going to work. I was going to say it's going to be a race that he's going to look back on and probably say, oh man, what if?
Well, he's got the big cat Barry West to deal with. Now, there are a lot of lines there at the final chicanes. I wonder if someone's gone into the wall of champions potentially out there over the course of the laps. I'm going to go have a look at that. But Joey, we've got not long left here, and Barry West is actually doing a really good job on his defense.
You know, that's what the big cat does. He's definitely stepped up his performance out there on the track. Oh, actually, they just went by Leon Forrest, who had a problem in that turn 3-4 complex. He's still trying to get going, but what was a great run for that black and gold car is now kind of slipping away in the latter stages of today's race.
Oh, that's a shame there for Leon Forrest. He's had such a good drive. And ultimately, I think the way that he's been going about today, there's nothing really that can be said about that, except that's really unfortunate. Olsen continuing on here with 3 laps to go to try and find that charge forward. And I believe it was actually Leon Forrest who tagged the wall of champions. So it's Forrest who's struggling now. I think we're just fatigue around here. You've got to be so switched on.
Remember earlier I had mentioned that he was really roasting those rear tires, and if they continue to fall off, it's just going to be harder and harder for the driver to physically hang on to the car. And we're going to see John Olsen. This is around the long way in the final chicane. It's just not going to happen, especially Barry knows to cover off that second apex, the most important part, the exit, which you see the big cat pounces coming off.
Well, John Olsen doesn't often find himself bottled up. He's one of those drivers who isn't flashy. He is very much a quick driver that hides away in groups and doesn't necessarily get the victories, but he puts the points together at the end of the season and often comes up with a big championship result by the end of it. But Barry West here, who he himself has lost 3 spots overall today, would be hoping for a bit better. But right now, this is a circuit where effectively what you've got to do first and foremost is try and survive.
That's kind of how it is with these open wheel races sometimes. The cleaner you keep the car, the better off your track position is. Guess what? The further forward you are there, that means the better position you're going to be in the finish of the race. So, yeah, just keep it clean out there. I think that's an underrated statement. Sometimes if people are too aggressive, they get caught up in the racing. And when you get in over your head, it's easy to make that damage. All of a sudden, you start falling down the order.
It's not a John Player special, it's a Jukka Pauli special, so to speak. Of course, Pauli Partinen's teammate Jukka Tolonen not here today, but for Pauli Partinen, it is just going to show you that no matter how long you spend away from the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, Class Joey is permanent.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that he's just able to show up out of the blue. Oh, that was a little nervous coming in to take the white flag. You saw Pauli have to deal with the lap car, and thankfully, I think it was Mauro Micheletti that saw it at the very, very last second there, got out of the way, but 1 lap remaining for Pauli.
I believe it was Don Runkle Jr. who was there, and behind him it was a lot of work for Jack Davis Pickett to get through. Micheletti and Forst and Krakowiak are all battling out there on circuit too. So a lot going on the final lap as AJ Roper looks for 1 final position out there at this moment in time. He's trying to jump through on Ben Summers, and that's actually Josh Hampton as well. So this could be for a double out there in terms of moves. Down to Lepangle, the hairpin, AJ Roper going the long way around. You take the high road, I'll take the low road, and I'll be at the finish line before you. Getting that launch, AJ Roper on home soil, can't get it done on Ben Summers, the number 25 car from Club UK and Ireland, over towards the final chicane. These drivers go on a day where they find themselves practically a lap behind. This driver could not be stopped after making his way back through on lap 3 on Pepe Fuentes, already getting the weaves out because he knows how big this is. Welcome back, Pauli Partinen. It's been a wonderful bit of driving by him. Ultimately, it's a day that he'll feel like he deserved it overall, and on top of everybody else, he proved as a stage hunter, nobody can match him. Pauli Partinen wins And circuit, Gilles Villeneuve, Jack David Spickett, now 9 out of 10 digits on the title.
Sergio Fernandez, congrats to this driver. The number 4 will stand on the podium here. Dylan Freckleton crosses the line in 4th. I think the next closest battle is actually Togo Asada, who just came out of the turn 10 hairpin. He's directly behind Jean-Francois Boscus. This might be the last lap, last corner move that we're looking for. Togo's gonna have to go to the outside. Can he outbrake Jean-Francois? Yes, he can. He's got an axle ahead. Bosca's up over the curbs. Togo Asada launches out of the Wall of Champions for 7th place.
That's ridiculous. Tyre to tyre they went. Made contact as they ran through. Jean-Francois Boscus has seen a ghost, and the ghost is Togo Hisada getting 7th. Pepe Fuentes is going to lose out late then to Jose Conda for position, but a long, tough, difficult day. Kurt Clapper is going to be the last of the drivers, I believe, who will be coming over the line and getting everything that's wanted and more. But my goodness me, it's been a day where you had to scrap. John Olsen, I think, is going to steal one late here as Ben Summers is going to come to the line with 3 wheels on his wagon. So what happened to him on the final lap of the race? It looked like he had contact going through somewhere, but we'll keep an eye on that. We'll get confirmation of result then as we go through, and it is Pauli Partanen who dominates proceedings here today and wins by a margin of 4.1 as he slowed down towards the line over Jack David Spickett. Sergio Fernandez will finish off in 3rd with Dylan Freckleton, great drive by him in 4th, and 5th belonging to Kevin Parrish. It's Bjorn Ackermann who started all the way in 22nd position. He'll finish in 6th for what could be the drive of the day here today, and just behind him, Togo Hisada from practically dead last after turn 4. He manages to find 7th place at the end of the race. Jean-Francois Boscus would lose out on that last lap. He'd be in 8th place with Jose Conda making the pass on Pepe Fuentes for 9th and 10th.
Then in 11th, we have Miguel Moreland across the page. Daniel Gallus will finish in 12th place. Josh Hampton with a very nice race, up 15 positions to finish in 13th. AJ Roper back here in 14th, narrowly avoided that wreck that we missed there at the end. Adam Klatska in 15th, Robert Simpkins 16th, John Olsen 17th, Barry West in 18th. Ben Summers drove nearly 3/4 of the entire final lap on 3 wheels to finish in 19th, with Kurt Clapper up 15 to finish in 20th.
It was contact with the lap traffic car of Alejandro Diaz. That was why Ben Summers had 3 wheels on his wagon. Leon Forsch was up as high as just outside the top 10, but fell back to 21st with 2 spins. Jason Krakowiak, 22nd with Mauro Micheletti. All these drivers are a lap down. Byron Long, Daniel Repetto, Manning Grinnan is in there as well as Thomas Silbernagel. And there will be no finish for Alejandro Diaz with his rear tyre demolished by Ben Summers. Don Runkle Jr. finding himself with a little bit of a scare late on in the race as well. He's 29th. Rolly Wallbank, not what the doctor ordered for his F2 championship, down there in 30th. And we'll just run through the last few drivers because these are the drivers who are multiple laps down or retirees. And there are 2 huge names in that one, Joey. Cherno Fritzsche and Juno Reicher.
Yeah, that was all off of that turn 1 incident, that 3-car incident between JDS, Fritzsche, and Reina. And I'm sure they're all going to be looking at the replays after that one. We can definitely armchair quarterback it all we want, but I think when I went back and looked at it, it's squeezing them down to the inside, but it's an aggressive move. It's a racing move, and sometimes that happens in open wheel cars.
Sometimes it does, and sometimes that's the way it goes. But Postman Pauli is here because it seems like he always delivers. Pauli, that's a wonderful result for you here today. Talk us through the start, because it looked like the start didn't quite go the way that you wanted it to, but you had the opportunity to make that move back on lap 3, and then it all imploded behind you.
Oh yeah, I'm struggling with the starts with this car nowadays. We got the tire update, I think, about a year ago, and I have struggled with the starts very much. And this week I had 2 races before this, and one of the races ended up on the first corner just because I had so bad start. So I was a bit nervous on the start, and it was super bad start. But I don't know who it was behind me. He got very bad start also, and Togo had super good start. And after that, I noticed he didn't really have that top speed at all. It seems like he had very high downforce setup. So actually, it was quite easy overtake in the end because I was just able to fly past him on the big straight.
Well, you flew through, and then it all sort of happened behind you, but a field of 38, it doesn't get much bigger around a track as tight as this. So talk us through dealing with the lap traffic, because that would have been your biggest nightmare today.
It was my biggest nightmare today. One guy almost T-boned me. It was so close, and I had a few other moments that was super scary, but I took every lapper very carefully, so I think I lost a lot of time behind those lappers, more time than I should, but I was just super cautious because I knew that Jack doesn't have the speed to overtake me anyway, so I didn't have to take any risks during the overtake. So in the end, it was good, but super nervous. I was super nervous all the time.
Well, for you, it's a case of you're not necessarily in the championship looking around like some of the other drivers behind you were, so you're sort of stage hunting here at Montreal. My question to you is, do you want both of the Canadian races because it's Mosport next week?
Mosport it's super hard for me. I don't know why, but I'm always super slow there, so I don't know if I want to race it. Maybe I should, so I get some practice with it, but I don't know yet. The reason I wanted to do this race because about a year ago I won a championship on this track, so I had good memories of it, and we had a great battle with Topi about a year ago. So I wanted to relive the feeling and drive this car in this track, and this track is super fun with this car. I really like to drive it.
So familiar home soil, so to speak, in terms of championships. Pauli, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank? It's a victory here at Montreal.
I want to thank Juho Raina. Juho has been doing the managing stuff at the Lotus 79 after I quit that stuff, and a big thank to Juha because it's not easy task. You need to do a lot of things, and Juha has been doing great job. So big thanks to Juha, and I'm missing my partner Jukka, so please Jukka come back. Nothing else. Thank you guys.
No worries at all then. Joining us there was Pauli Partanen, who picked up the victory overall and did a sensational job in doing so. A driver who was able to charge up the field here today was Togo Hisada. He stood by with Joey Atterbury.
Well, Togo, it wasn't the start that you were looking for, but holy smokes, it was fun to watch you recover all the way back up through the field.
Thank you very much.
I gotta say, I mean, I don't think you were expecting 7th today. What did you think of today's race? Did you at least have fun after the first lap?
I don't know. My stuff is horrible. Yeah, I know. And the John is ahead in the first game, and he lost control, and misfortune for me. Just bad place at that time, and spun out, and I just 31st place. Yeah, at the end of that one. So after that I overtook 24 cars. Yeah, on track. So just super fun.
It was so much fun to watch you, and you were setting purple fast laps throughout all of the traffic. It was extremely impressive, so go back and watch it. My last question to you, you're typically in the Lotus 49s. This car is so different. Do you find yourself starting to drive this more, or is it truly you are a Lotus 49 guy?
No, I'd love to, listen with a lot of more, different stuff like, NASCAR, V8 Supercar or something under the, of course, 79, Nissan GTP under the, but the 79 is my, I live in Japan, so usually the lesson is very late time there in the, this broadcast slot, so usually I cannot show up because of the, next morning I have to wake up in 5 a.m. to go to the university. But from now on and until the mid of September, I just this is summer vacation for me. So I have a lot of time to practice to prepare more than any other stuff. And of course the 79 and always very good racing and the very good handling car. So it's just super fun to drive.
Well, I look forward to seeing you show up more here with the 79s. It is always fun to watch you. Thank you for coming out and racing with us as much as you do. Is there anybody you want to say hi to?
Lotus 79 community and the GSRC broadcast team.
Well, that was Togo Hisada, the redemption drive here at Circuit Villeneuve, finishing 7th.
Tensai Togo Hisada. No other words to be said about that. You've then got more drivers here who are knocking very politely on the door. Barry West, we always like talking with Barry. Barry, today a little bit more troublesome out there overall. Down 3, 15th to 18th. It looked like it was going to be a long old slog.
It was. I got caught up in that melee on the first lap. I think Mr. Roper spun it with a bit of a walk contact, and I got stuck behind them, and then that was it. Then I think I had too much damage from that. I should have been low 28s at least, and a bit too low. You couldn't do anything. I had fun holding John Olsen off though, but it's my fault because I clipped the curb on turn 1, and I lost a few places there. So. That was my fault for being where I was, but yeah, it's all about qualifying here, especially with a field this size. But yeah, it was great fun trying to hold John off with damage, and he got me, I think, just at the end. I don't know if you caught it, but yeah, good race.
So you had some good racing. How was it going out there battling with John Olsen there towards the end of the race? It's not often that you get a driver like him fall so far back down the order. So it seemed like you got a really good opportunity to go out there and, I would say, flex a little bit with those drivers who maybe you don't often get to race with.
Yeah, I got quite a few. Well, we've had a few ding dongs, but he's usually quicker than me. And then the last few, I think I had him off about 4 or 5 laps. And we were level going into Wall of Champions a couple of times, and of course he did the wise thing and backed out. But yeah, it was very close, and it was all down to drive off the hairpin. I think a little bit of wheel spin off the hairpin, and that was me sunk. And then he got past me. Where did he get past me? He got past me into turn 1, I think. And then I stayed on his tail, and I thought I might get a chance on the last lap. If I get a good exit, and I didn't get a good exit, so that was it. But yeah, it's good fun, and it's good to battle through from. Well, I think it was way down at the back at the end. I think there's one person behind me, and there's a lot of good people. Yuho, Gurno, Rowley. There's quite a few behind, so I'm happy with 15th, that's 18th, and P15. See what happens.
Well, you're happy with that 18th place. We always enjoy seeing you out there and driving and throwing what you've got at the wall. So Barry West there joining us then overall. An 18th place finish, not necessarily what he was hoping for, but still, he had a lot of, I would say, positives take out of that, and so did a lot of drivers through the field, some taking quite a few negatives from it, but that's the way that racing goes. When someone profits, another one finds a little bit of misfortune. That will throw the curtain down here at the circuit. Gilles, Villeneuve, want to give a massive thanks to the team here today, from Joey, from Christian, and from Dougie. You can see on your screen all of the software and equipment that helps bring this show over to you, and that includes the music that you can find by June Lalonde, which you can see on Bandcamp if you follow the link right now. You've got so much great sim racing that is coming up on the horizon. You do not want to miss it. You can catch us on our socials so that you know that all the racing's coming up, or you can see what's flying across your screen right now. Mark it down in your calendar if you haven't had the chance to already. You can go to our website, which has all of that information for you, and our merch store, of course, gsrc.storenvy.com. If you want 0.2 of a second every time you go out there and race, that's what you need to do. You need to go and get one of our shirts. But until next time, with Jack David Spickett one step away from the championship. Absolutely in a wonderland, but with a little bit of controversy here today with Gilles. He knows that there is still ways to go for ultimate outright pace. Pauli Partanen can turn up whenever he should so choose and say that he is one of the great sim racers that the world has to offer. We will see you in 1 week's time when we head a little bit further along in Canada, and we will be at Mosport.